Sitting here staring at it and the light's not on.
Nice.
Oh, shit. Hang on, one of the legs came out of my stand. There we go. All right. All right. Come on. Pick up my microphone. Okay, now I'm ready.
All right. Everybody recording?
Yeah.
Yep.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth?
And Brian.
So this week we are going to be talking about some different demographic Disney trips, guys, girls trips, and maybe some tips for kids with different ages. This has been a topic we've had requested a few times, and unfortunately Kirsten couldn't be with us to discuss the kid portion, but we're going to try our best as 3 adults without children. But let's take a moment to look at some of the things that are happening around the Disney parks and talk about some news. First up on our list of news topics this week is that Disneyland is debuting a new annual pass, their Flex annual pass, which requires reservations to enter the park. It looks like this annual pass is being rolled out over in Disneyland specifically, but I thought this was interesting enough that we should talk about it here. And basically what's going to happen is they have a system online where you have to plan out the days that you want to be in the park, and you have 3 different types of days. There's the blackout days, which are basically blackout, you can't go. There's the blue days, which you have to set a reservation for, and then green days, which are just, you can come into the park, you don't need to set a reservation for that. The system itself is pretty cool because you have to make the reservation 30 days in advance for a reservation day, and you can only hold 2 reservations during a 30-day window. If you miss 3 reservations within that window, you actually get like a you'll be unable to make a new reservation for 30 days after the 3rd no-show. And it looks like the way that the system is working, as far as the website actually says now, they're not restricting a lot. It looks like a pretty good number of blackout days in comparison to some of the blackout days for like a Walt Disney World annual pass. I thought this was pretty cool. It's an interesting way that they can crowd control some stuff, and I wanted to see what you guys thought about this.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely a lot more complicated than like Disney World's lowest tier annual pass. I do like the I don't know what you want to call it, the demerit that you get or whatever if you don't show up for your reservations, because I know a lot of people, and I've done it a couple times, and I really try not to, but even just like scheduling fast passes, like I normally try to delete fast passes if I know I'm not going to make ones that I've reserved, but I know that happens a lot where people don't delete them and they just kind of like grab them whether or not they know they're going to go in case they do. So I think something like this would be nice to kind of like cut down on that kind of stuff. I mean, I know they do their fast passes differently, but still.
Yeah, I'm just, maybe I didn't read thoroughly enough, but is this going to become their only option for an annual pass, or this is just another option?
This is another option. From my understanding, I don't think we have like an exact price on it yet, but
Yeah,
I would imagine this is probably like their lower tier.
That's what I'm interested to know, is like if the price point is low enough to where this would be, if I was a Disneyland goer, if it would be worth it to me to have to plan, I guess, that type of thing. I don't know.
All right, so we do have a price point for it. Does anybody want to guess what it is?
Ooh, I'm gonna say for a year.
What's the regular one?
Let me pull that up first, and then we can talk about that.
Because I don't know what the resident Walt Disney World ones are like, but it's like almost $900 for a out of state or platinum pass. at Disney World.
Their
It
current
might be more than 900, but I guess I get the renewal rate. So
their current lowest tier is $7.99.
Wow, that is more than I thought it would be.
wow,
That's well,
I don't.
that's their quote unquote deluxe passport, and that one is basically
that's their lowest.
that's their lowest one.
It's
But that's
almost the
not-
same price as Disney World.
That's not a residential passport or anything. That is their current lowest without
Okay,
considering the flex pass.
I guess I'm kind of used to seeing the resident prices, so but wow, that still seems high to me. Considering they only have 2 parks, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess at this flex pass, I'm gonna say 450.
Beth.
Oh
I
gosh.
guess that wasn't a good guess.
I don't know what to make of that. So I'm gonna say 350.
It's
I'm being
$5.99.
nice. What?
Oh wow.
I was being
I-
generous. I was like, oh, he guessed too high. I'm gonna go lower.
I won,
No.
but I still wasn't anywhere close.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Okay,
Jeez.
this isn't a great benefit.
I'm sorry, $5.99. So you're telling me that you could spend $150 more and not have to like do all this crazy scheduling nonsense? and all
200.
that? Okay.
200 more.
Oh, I'm sorry. How much did you say that the lowest other tier one was?
$7.99.
$7.99.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So there's a $200 difference. I wonder like what their like the difference in blackout days and stuff.
Yeah,
is.
that would be
So
some
does-
good.
Does
other
the
thing-
other one have blackout days too?
The
flex one-
lowest.
So the lowest one, the deluxe one, has blackout days apply and vary by theme park,
But so does the
including
next
holidays.
one up.
Yeah, so it looks like most of them have it except for the signature passport, which is $13.99.
So $1,400 for no blackout dates?
But they also
That's
get
insane.
the signature one also gets max pass and up to 15% off dining and up to 20% off merchandise.
But
Yeah,
Max
but I
Pass
mean,
is like $10 a day.
Yeah, and you get the same benefits and stuff at Disney World if you have a pass. That's insane to me. Like, I know stuff is more expensive in California, but you've got half as many parks. You don't have stuff like Disney Springs and all the other stuff to do around. Like that is, I don't know, man. That just seems like not a good deal to me.
No, not at all.
And especially when California is more catered towards locals, you would think that the annual passes wouldn't be that much.
Yeah. Well, so the other thing is parking isn't included in their $7.99, the deluxe passport one.
This is getting worse and worse.
So the parking isn't included in what looks like the lowest tiers, but the signature one, the $11.49 one, which is just the one under the signature plus passport, which is the $1,400 one. Both of those include parking. I would be interested to see the calendar for the Flex Pass too. That's
Mhm.
the other thing that I think I need to see before making a verdict. But I think the system's interesting enough. I like
Yeah.
the idea that like you have to pick your days that you want to go, and I think that that's a good way for them to start crowd controlling before like Galaxy's Edge and stuff opens.
Yeah, I agree. I do like the system a lot. Though I do wonder, like, I know from being in Florida, I know a lot of people when they started doing the tiered system here that like snatched up the silver passes that weren't really interested in going to Disney that much beforehand, but they were really cheap, and people would say, well, that's okay. If there's a big blockout date, I just won't go then. It was cheap enough that more people were doing it that probably weren't going to go to Disney in the first place. I'm wondering if this has kind of the same effect. Like, yeah, it has theoretically, it would be really good at doing crowd control, but I'm wondering if a bunch of people are going to snatch these up because it's like less than the other ones, and it just lead to more people.
Yeah.
But I guess
Yeah,
it's not that much less, so maybe it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
It's just blowing my mind. Like the Flex one doesn't include. The lowest one doesn't include Max Pass either, right?
it doesn't look like the Flex or the lowest tier ones include Max Pass. I think the only one that does is the highest tier one.
I cannot under $1,400.
Jeez, yeah, that's.
By
Like,
the way,
I know I'm a.
I was just gonna say I just looked up the. This is an unofficial site, so take it with a grain of salt. But I looked up the resident pricing, and this one has blackout dates, but allows up to 170 days in the parks and costs $3.99.
Yeah, I was just looking at that too. I wonder if they're gonna do like the Flex Pass with a local discount kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I
But
wonder
then it would be
where
less than their regular one. It would have to be less than their regular one for it to make sense.
there would probably have to be somewhere around like 250 for it to make sense, and even then, that almost feels like they're losing money at that rate. But I wonder what the blackout dates and like the reservation dates are for.
See, here's the thing that I just thought about. It's like I was thinking in my mind, if they adopted this system at Disney World, like at what point would it become beneficial for me? And I don't think it would at all, because the blackout dates are going to be the most busy dates, more than likely, but specifically like 3-day weekends and stuff, which
Mhm.
are dates that I often will take like a long weekend and just go down. And so it would completely defeat the purpose for
Alright.
me personally.
I have to cut you off here really quick because I just found on Disneyland's website the blackout days for their basic pass. And are you guys ready for this? Because you can't go any weekends, including Friday, like
What?
at all. Yeah,
Okay, that's it. It's already done. Like,
Oh.
they blocked out every single weekend.
every single weekend except
No,
for
no, no, no. There's
uh
in the summer you can't go during
no,
the
no, no,
weekend.
no. May, it has the calendar for the Southern California Select Annual Pass, their lowest tier. It has May, June, July, August. Well, hold on, I'll back that up. June, July, and August you can't go at all. The
Yeah.
entire month is blacked out. May, it's Friday, Saturday, Sundays are all blacked out, and then the 27th is blocked out, which is a Monday. September, October, November are all blocked out for Sunday or Friday through Sunday, and November 11th and 8th, or no, yeah, November 11th is blocked out, which is a Monday, and it looks like you can go the 1st, the 15th, and the 12th, but then every other thing is like every other month is like you can't go Saturday and Sunday at the very least.
That's crazy.
So
yeah,
wait, this is for which one?
Their lowest, their $7.99 one.
Where are you looking?
$7.99.
Because I'm looking at this website and I see a completely different calendar than the one you just described.
I'm looking at it's the Disneyland.Disney Go passes blackout dates thing. Are you looking at which tab do you have? Because there's
Disney Deluxe Passport.
The one above that. It should say like Southern California Select Annual Pass. I think that's the resident pass.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Wow.
That.
Well, I was looking at the one that above, like the $7.99 one.
Oh, okay.
And even that one has terrible, like, it's a lot of, you can't go the entire month of July, most of June and August, and like only Saturdays you can go are in like a couple in September and November. Like, it's just like, this is ridiculous.
I feel like the only difference here, kind of like what we said before, is that a lot of the people that are going to Disneyland are locals, so you're probably going through the week anyway. I mean, I don't know.
It would make sense to me. Like, if I'm imagining, if I was a local, I would probably go, like, if I had an annual pass, I would go a random weekday here and there to have, like, dinner or something. But it would be a weekend that I would probably spend the most time, because most people probably have a 9 to 5, and that's when they would be able to spend the most time. So
Yeah.
I guess that's why they are enforcing this, but it's just like, I don't know.
You know, so yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this, comparing it to the Silver Pass for Disney World. I mean, it's similar. Like June, July, and the first 2 weeks of August are completely blocked out. The end of December is completely blocked out. Like April 5th through 17th is blocked out. And then I didn't realize this. Every Saturday is blocked out for silver passes too. So it was more restricted than I thought.
Mm.
But I also think a silver pass is a lot cheaper than the one at Disneyland, and you're also getting more. So I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy to me.
I feel like it's probably also because we're closer to Disney World. Like, I'm sure that there are locals that can justify that cost because they go so much, or they just, I don't know.
Well, I'm sure, and like Brian said, everything is more expensive in California. It's like the most expensive place to live in the country. But like, there's 2 parks, and as someone who has been there, I think that I could pretty much I pretty much did all of the big things I wanted in a single day. I think if you gave me like a week there, I could do absolutely everything I ever wanted to do there and be done. So that's what doesn't make sense to me, because before I went on my trip to Disneyland, I looked up the size difference, and both of the parks combined in California are half the size of Epcot.
That's
That
crazy.
just to give you some perspective. Like, wow.
Wow. Speaking of sizes, this is totally irrelevant, but last night we had dinner at an Applebee's nearby, and they do like trivia at random nights of the week. And one of the trivia questions was, which is larger, Walt Disney World or the island of Manhattan?
It's Disney World, right?
I mean, it is, but like,
Okay.
there's really like no size comparison there. Anyway, let's talk about the next news topic. We've got the Epcot Space Restaurant that we heard about at D23 is set to open later this year. Disney didn't announce an exact date, but simply stated that they will be able, or guests will be able to experience the out of this world dining experience later in 2019. And I will believe that when I see it.
Right?
They've been missing some dates lately. And I mean, I like the concept art. It looks like it'll be pretty cool. So whenever it does get around to being made, hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I think it's nice to have something that's like not an IP.
Yeah. At the same time, though, still, it's like I never consider eating in Future World.
Maybe you will now. Maybe that's the point.
I would be interested to see the menu on this restaurant, because if it's like, if they're going to compete with World Showcase, they have to make it interesting, and they have to do something here that's going to make me want to eat at this restaurant, whether it's like some kind of entertainment or, you know, they have to put something here for me to want to go, because there's so many other good food options, like Brian said.
I hear you, but at the same time, every time I walk past Electric Umbrella, it's slam packed. So I don't think they have to try that hard.
I guess, but
I think it's because it's the first restaurant people come across.
Well, that's true.
It's like, oh, God, the kids are hungry. Let's stop into this restaurant and get them something.
There's obviously some outside factor causing this, because it's definitely not the food or the atmosphere or
Well, it benefits from being right in the center of Future World. Like, you walk right by it to get to anywhere in Epcot, and that's probably a huge plus. And I feel like it probably also caters to like the kids that only want to eat chicken tenders or a burger. Like, that's definitely a demographic for Disney World.
I'm just saying, if you go to Disney World and your kid won't eat anything but chicken tenders and hamburgers, that's good. Like, that is indicative of how the rest of their life is going to be.
You got to shut that down early.
Yeah, you got to expose them to things early, or they are going to live their whole life eating chicken tenders and hamburgers. Not there's anything wrong with eating those things. Just think outside the box sometimes.
Well, speaking of deadlines, Disney has announced that the NBA experience will be opening in It looks like August, and they have opened up ticket sales for it. Tickets are going to be $35 plus tax for adults and $29 for children ages 3 to 9. You can purchase your tickets on Disney's website under NBA Experience. Tickets are valid through December 31st, 2020, and provides you admission to NBA's Experience. Re-entry is not permitted. So I don't know. Have we discussed any of the stuff that they're putting in here? Because I think maybe we briefly touched on this when they announced it.
I don't
think
think.
this is the first I've seen of what's actually going in it.
Yeah,
Oh.
we definitely haven't gone into much detail, but I just want to say that I can't think of anything that I would be less excited about coming to Disney World than this restaurant thing.
I don't care for basketball, and I think that my excitement of this is definitely like it indicates that I am not the target audience for this by any means. It's I don't know. I wish Disney Quest worked out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I'm not a big. I don't watch basketball really, so this doesn't appeal that much to me. But it's like, I don't know. I guess it being in Disney Springs is okay because it's not like you're gonna. Like, nobody's gonna say, "Hey, let's skip a park day so we can go do the NBA Experience." But I don't know. Maybe it'll be able to draw some crowds out of Disney Springs, which would be nice.
I think maybe they're targeting, like, their target audience is the fact that there's all those sports teams that go to random things at Wide World of Sports, maybe?
Yeah, that's a good point. But I also feel like I don't know. I feel like football would be bigger. Like, I don't. I feel like you could have like more of a crowd draw for something with football. But maybe that's just me because I'm really big into college football and I don't watch basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that football is a bigger deal, like, in general, but also how would you do that inside, really?
Well, I've been to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, and it's actually pretty cool. They have like a thing where you can set up and do like passing routes, you can like kick field goals and that kind of stuff. So there is some stuff, but yeah, I mean, there's probably more stuff that they could set up to do for basketball.
Well, we have a rundown of some of the activities. They're very brief if we want to go through them. Looks like, according to Blog Mickey, the rundown is as follows. Dunk, challenge your skills above the rim, step up and demonstrate the dunking skills you've only dreamed of until now, and bring your game face for a photo op that's sure to impress. Shoot, beat the clock, and bring home the win. Live out your basketball dreams in this innovative experience. Step on the court, where you'll be guided through a sequence of shots with a virtual crowd cheering you on. Feel the thrill of making the game-winning basket. This literally feels like they're just pulling points out of basketball and saying, let's make a game around that. Dribble, bounce that b-ball, and it says show off. Grab a ball, hit the court, and let the coach take you through the drills to assess your basketball handling skills. This challenge is designed for a wide range of ages and skill levels, from novice to expert. Slingshot, score. Take your game to new heights in this next level shooting challenge using a large slingshot.
This sounds dangerous.
Very.
This sounds like one I would actually play.
You'll try to shoot the ball through hoops set at varying heights. Pay close attention as the game progresses. The scoring changes. And then arcade area. Test your hand-eye coordination in a variety of arcade games. Oh, and then it has a whole bunch of other things. Wow, there's a lot here. It says b-ball games up close personal. Beat the clock with perfect shot. Pop-A-Shot. Fans young and old can try their hand at a series of Pop-A-Shot arcade games that include static hoops and hoops that move side to side. NBA 2K, NBA Live, and NBA Playgrounds. So they're just going to put, like...
Yeah, like, dude, if you're playing 2K while you're supposed to be doing other stuff on vacation, you need to refresh yourself. Like, you can do that at home.
Oh, boy.
I gotta say, in this arcade area, that they're making a huge mistake if they don't put that basketball game that they have at Dave & Buster's, where it's like Connect 4, but with basketball hoops. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's like you have two people, right? And one has like yellow ball to throw, and the other one has like red ones, and you try to connect 4 in like
That's actually
rows.
really cool.
And and it's super fun. So if they don't have that, then they made a big mistake.
Huh. That sounds really cool, and I think that would be awesome. Going through the rest of these, like I'm not going to read all of them because I just realized that there's a lot in here.
Yeah, there is a
well,
surprising amount.
I thought it like stopped right at the ad break here, but it keeps going. I'm going to say that this, if you're an NBA fan, this is probably like very specifically targeted at you. I feel like this isn't targeted just like at any sports fan. This is like specifically targeted for people that really like basketball, because there's things like testing your NBA knowledge at trivia, and you get a MVP trophy to hold high above your head in a thrilling photo op, and you get to go through locker rooms and like look at the current team rosters and records and highlights for the season. Like none of that sounds exciting for me, but that's probably because I don't really care about basketball.
Same.
Someone out there is really excited for this, and I'm very happy for you.
I'm excited for them too.
And then last up on our news topic is that the 2019 Eat to the Beat concert series lineup has been revealed. Going through these, looks like we're gonna have a lot of people returning. Should I go through all of these or just go through the new ones?
Let's go through the new ones or the big ones. I mean, there's definitely.
I'll go through the new ones, and if there's any ones that you guys are excited for, feel free to throw them out there. It looks like new this year we're having Sawyer Brown, Grace Kelly, Zach Williams, Lauren Daigle, Jamie Allen. Scrolling down, Boyce Avenue, Southern Avenue, and Chris Allen and D Capella. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan of Boyce Avenue, so that's a cool one for me.
There's a lot of. I know you were saying the other one you're excited for, but there's a lot of like YouTube bands here.
Yeah, I was gonna say with like Postmodern Jukebox and Boyce Avenue being there, like they kind of are the similar thing where they do covers and they bring in a guest to sing with them. Obviously in very very different styles of music to accomplish that, but yeah, I guess they're trying to touch on some of that YouTube fame.
And as always, Hanson will be back.
Would it really be Eat to the Beat without Hanson?
I want to look up their tour schedule. Is this like the only
this
thing
is the
only man. I mean,
they're actually still touring.
Really?
Good for them. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got to be pretty easy though, right? You just go to each venue, you play one song, and you leave and go to the next one, right?
I mean, that's all people want to hear, right?
Do you think they save it to the end, or do they open with it?
Oh no, they have to save it to the end, or everyone would leave.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You open with Bop, and people are.
They're like, all right, well, I got what I came for. I can go home now.
They do have Each of the Beat listed as 3 separate days on their tour schedule, though.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I mean, other than that, I mean, Plain White Tees are coming back again. Blue October's coming back again. Sugar Ray's coming back. So I mean, like, there's decent bands here, and I'm hoping that some of the other concert series kind of grow and get more big name artists. I'm using that term very loosely, but a more well-known artists to come to some of the other ones too.
I almost wonder if Each of the Beat isn't getting better, or we're just getting older.
That's a very depressing way to look at it, but you might be right. Because it's like, even the ones that I'm excited about are in no way like A-list, bands or artists right now. So
yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
Doesn't mean I love them any less.
Yeah,
Oh,
I kind of see several of these artists as like if I was walking past the little pavilion and they were on, I would stop and be like, "Oh, okay, cool." But none of these I would actually like wait in line and go like sit down and be there for the whole thing.
mark my words, there will come a day where someone on here is going to be that for at least one of us.
That'll be an
Oh,
interesting day.
oh boy. So you guys ready to dive into this week's show topic?
Yeah.
So this one was recommended to us kind of by two separate people. Um, First one was the listener Allison that she had sent us an email and said, "I really appreciate the more adult-centered podcast. Though I think it would be super fun and helpful if you did a series of episodes featuring parents of different aged kids discussing their best tips and tricks. I never went with a baby, but hearing about Kirsten's experience is really exciting. Sorry to disappoint about that because Kirsten could not be here because we are recording at a very weird time this week. Also, I don't know anyone with kids that goes to Disney World besides like my family." And then on the next one was sent in by listener Jillian, who said she wanted to hear us talk about doing Disney as a girls' trip or a guys' trip. So we're kind of combining them into one episode, and we're gonna talk about maybe doing some different tips and tricks for kids, and then guys and girls stuff. So let's first do the one that we don't really have too much experience with and talk about some kids of different ages. um yeah, how do we want to do this?
I guess we can just go down the list. I have the first one, and I think this is pretty common knowledge, but it's good to touch on. But if your group is set up in a way that you are able to split up, and there's people that want to do different things, feel free to do that. And that goes not just for having kids. I think that's a good tip for any group of people that are going, but especially if you have different age kids. Your teenager is not going to want to go to the Frozen sing along with your 5-year-old. So if you have a teenager that's old enough that they can go off and do their own thing while you take them to the Frozen sing along, do that, because they're not going to be happy. And I know so many people say, well, it's a family vacation, I don't want to like split the family up and everything. But from going to Disney for so many years, I can tell you, like, when me and my family went, that was the best way to do it. I was the younger sibling, and when I was younger, there were rides like Tower of Terror that I was too afraid to go on or wasn't tall enough to go on for a certain amount of time. And my dad and my brother would go on it, and then me and my mom would go do something else. So, and it's like, it really is more fun that way. You don't want to put a kid on a ride that they don't want to go on, and you don't want to make an older kid or guest do something that is just not going to be interactive or fun for them.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I think I've talked about my Disney touring with my family in the past year. We used to go with my mom's whole family, and managing a group that large, there was no way. It was always like, when we first would do it the first couple of days, we'd all try to stay together, and you would do like one ride that every one person wanted to do, and it wasn't as thrilling as it probably could have been for that first couple days or whatever when we were all trying to stay together. But by the end of our vacation, it was always like, myself and my older cousin are 1 year apart, and we're the oldest on that side of the family, so we would always go off and do our own thing. Or there would even be times where we'd go off with our younger cousins, and like just breaking off into smaller groups makes it a little more manageable, and you can kind of execute your trip based on what the interest is. And
Mm-hmm.
kind of tying off of that, I know that we didn't really put this in here, but knowing what you're interested in is really helpful too. Like what your kids are interested in are really helpful too, because if they're not interested in the characters, the meet and greets and stuff like that, like maybe it's okay to not do so much Magic Kingdom. Try to tailor the trip specifically to what they're looking for. And I know that doesn't help if the child's too young to really know what they're looking for, but
No,
that might be a good idea.
That's a really good point too, and that brings me up to something that I've seen before, and kind of going back to like putting a kid on a ride that's too scary for them. Like, do some research and like realize what rides your kid's gonna like or not. Again, bringing up Tower of Terror, I can't count the number of times that I've stood in line with a parent and a relatively small child close to us in line, and watched them move through the entire line with us the whole way until they got up to the elevator and the kid is freaking out and decides they don't want to get on. Like, I don't think you can put that on the kid. Like, the kid goes, he sees the ride and he gets in line. Like, I feel like as a parent, you need to say, hey, this was a really scary ride. If you've got a 5-year-old and hey, they're not really into intense rides, plan ahead, know that kind of stuff so that you don't put them in that situation and waste that time.
Definitely agree, and can actually speak from personal experience on this, but not in from a perspective of having a child, but being the child. Just to reiterate the point that you were saying is just to know your kid, because this is exactly what happened to me when I went to Disney World when I was 6. We stood in line for Tower of Terror and we got up to the front, and I started like freaking out, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And my mom talked me into it. And then as soon as we got off, I was like, I want to do that again. So if you think that your kid can handle it, absolutely. But if you don't, do not force them to do it.
For sure. I've seen 5-year-olds absolutely enjoy it, and then I've seen ones have mental breakdowns on it. So you got to kind of make an executive decision as a parent.
I also think, kind of knowing your kid is the big key here. And kind of to my next couple points, know if your kid can handle wait times too. Like, if you think that they're going to want to do the more intense lines and stuff like that, like the rides at the end of that line, then make sure they can handle that. Make sure they have, they can wait an hour plus in line if that's what it comes down to, but also try to fill the time in between with things that don't really demand that long of a wait, like maybe pin trading with some cast members, make a day out of that. I know we've talked about that on here before too, or even doing Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. That can get a little line, but at least it's short enough that there's some instant gratification there as well.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
And kind of off of that as well, Disney's done a really good job with doing interactive queues, and to a lesser extent the Play app with what they're trying to roll out there. So I guess knowing which ones would have a longer line but would have stuff for them to do, like, Pooh has the interactive toys and stuff in the queue. Haunted Mansion has an interactive queue, and even the innovative queue systems like Dumbo are all really good things that Disney does to minimize that wait time and make it feel like less than what it is.
Pro tip though, if you do choose to do the Winnie the Pooh queue,
oh god,
bring hand sanitizer.
Or just don't touch the wall. Just don't touch it.
Yeah, well,
don't touch the screens. Just don't touch the screens.
The funny thing about that is those screens, and I don't know how many people realize this, you don't actually have to touch the screen to get it to move.
A lot of snotty kids
nobody realizes that.
Well, if you hover your hand over the screen, all the honey moves out of the way anyway, so you don't really need to physically touch it. Those things are disgusting.
I ain't never seen a kid not walk up to that thing and not immediately slap their hand on there.
Oh my gosh. I've literally gotten nauseous looking at those before.
The first time that we went there, for some reason there weren't many little kids around us in line, so nobody was really touching those the honey screens. And Andy went to go touch it and went, no, please don't touch them. She was like, why not? I want to see what it does. I was like, no, you don't.
Me.
Or pro tip, if you have to touch it, touch really high up where the little kids haven't put their hands on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't think of any other tips for kids. I know one thing that I've heard a lot is if you're driving and you want to get more affordable souvenirs, the outlets are usually a really good place to check for those, but I've never actually been there, so I don't know how that works.
I haven't been to any of them, but yeah, there are a ton right around Disney property.
Yeah, I have been to the Character Warehouse. I think it's in one of the premium outlet mall thingies, and I got some pretty awesome deals there. Like, it's stuff that they had in excess from like a previous event a lot of times, but sometimes they just have stuff that I guess didn't really sell well, or they just over ordered, and it's legit Disney merchandise that you would see in the parks a lot of times for significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
There is one that we passed, like depending on which way we go, but a lot of times we pass it, and I swear it is in a strip mall, and all it says is Disney Store, and I swear to you, the sign is in Comic Sans.
Oh my god.
Every time I pass it, I was just like, they just aren't trying, are they?
Yeah. I would say a word of advice though at the not Disney associated, like unofficial Disney merchandise stores, is that there is a lot of counterfeit stuff, like pins, for example. You'll find like it looks like a normal Disney trading pin, and it's $4, and you're like, wow, what a great deal. And then you get it and you take it home and you look at and on the back, and China is misspelled. And this is speaking from personal experience as well, so just be aware of that.
Yeah, I know we've talked about buying scrappers before on here. Just realize that if it's a personal souvenir for you, like that's cool, you know.
Right.
But when you're trading it and someone else ends up with that, and there are people, myself included, that actually care about them being, official pins, just realize that it's kind of taking away from it for everybody else.
Yeah, just try to keep scrappers out of circulation.
Yeah. You with this last one, Beth?
Oh. Oh yeah. I just wanted to point out not to forget about rider swap. So if you are in a group where you have small kids that don't want to ride the ride, but you're like multiple adults, you can actually leave the kid with an adult at rider swap, and then they come out and you switch and you go ride the ride, etc. It's only available on certain rides though, so just check it out and keep that in mind.
And before we break off of this topic, one thing I was thinking of while Beth said that is, don't be afraid to take breaks. Like, don't underestimate the idea of maybe going back to the resort or doing a pool day or stuff like that. I mean, I know everyone's tempted to cram everything they can into their Disney trip, but like we said before, trying to push that time frame to do everything you can and maximize that time is one surefire way to not get the most out of your Disney trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. I always see it's like a line graph with two lines crossing each other. Like in the mornings, the parents are always super tired and the kids are like running around super excited, and then they slowly, and about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, it crosses over, and now it's like the kids are starting to get tired, but the parents are awake now, and then that's when the kids start getting grumpy and stuff, and it leads to issues. So
around lunchtime.
Yeah, so feel free to take breaks.
For sure.
So I guess moving off of that, we could start talking about a guys girls day in the park. So like a girls trip or a bachelorette party, or maybe even a bachelor party for the guys, if that's how you want to spend your day.
Yeah. I want to say before we get started on this, this might be a little bit stereotypical, because I feel like we're gonna put stuff that easily like guys and girls would like to do, but it might be kind of stereotypical to consider it like a girls or a guy thing to do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I want to preface this by saying that I have never done a girls trip, so I am especially going to have very stereotypical things. I also don't have a whole lot of girl friends. Most of my friends are guys, so this was a difficult thing for me to think of, but I think I got some pretty good options on here. So I guess if we're ready to dive into that.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first then?
Sure. So my first thing that I thought of when I thought of a girls' trip bachelorette party was spa days. So a lot of the different resorts at Disney World have different spas. There's Senses Spa at the Grand Floridian and at Saratoga Springs, La Vida Health Club at Coronado Springs, Mandara Spa, if I'm saying that right, at the Dolphin, Shipshape at Yacht Club, Sturdy Branches at Wilderness Lodge, and Zahanati Massage at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And all these spas kind of offer similar services. They are going to vary a little bit. So if you want a specific service, definitely check out their, I guess, menu, for lack of a better word, before you head out. But they offer massages, facials, manicures, pedicures at those resorts, and maybe some others. I'm not super sure. You'd have to double check. You can actually get an in-room massage as well. So that would be pretty cool. And you can also get enhancements to your spa services like sugar scrubs and aromatherapy added in. So to me, nothing says being girly like having a spa day. Also, I thought a cool thing to do would be tea time. Going to have tea and little pastries and sandwiches and stuff. They offer it at the Grand Floridian Cafe in the Garden View Tea Room. It is going to be 7 days a week between 12 and 4. You can make reservations. The price point was kind of interesting to me. This one starts at $35 and can actually go up to $175.
Ooh,
and the one, yeah, the 175 one includes like champagne and caviar and stuff. So if you really want to be fancy, there's your option. But this one I didn't even know about until I started researching, which is pretty cool that they have a Rose and Crown tea experience at the UK Pavilion.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did actually know this. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And I love tea. I'm a big tea drinker, so this is exciting to me. That one, unfortunately, is going to be at 9:45 in the morning, which is usually way too early for me to be at the parks. But I know most people are not like me and sleep until 11 o'clock when they're at Disney World. But yeah, so that one is $35 as well. And these different experiences are going to come with different things, like I said, especially the one at the Grand Floridian. But typically it's going to be tea tastings and like scones, pastries, and little like finger sandwiches. So I've never done this at Disney World, but I've actually gone to a tea room locally where I live, and it was really cool and cute. And I would highly recommend it if it's anything like the one I went to.
And they do, I want to say they do one with like the festivals too.
They do. I actually have done that one, but it's not really a tea experience in the same way. Well, they have a paid one and a free one. So I haven't done the Royal Tea Experience, I think is what it's called. That's during, I think it's during Flower and Garden. They might, and maybe during Food and Wine as well. But I've done the one that's free, and you basically just have to go up to the Twinings booth shop and sign up for it in advance, which I would do it first thing because apparently it fills up really fast. So this was a trip that I just happened to be by myself, and I like for the in the park for the day. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that thing that I never do. And they take you around the little tea garden behind the shop and tell you about the history of tea and like the different types of tea, black and green and white and whatever. And I thought it was really cool. And you do get to taste a couple of teas at the end, and you get a couple of little tea bags as like a Cersei souvenir.
Neat.
Nice.
Yeah. So another thing I thought would be good is, of course, shopping. I know that's very stereotypical as well, but stereotypes exist for a reason. Women like to shop. Obviously, to me, the biggest option would be Disney Springs because there's so many stores. There's so many cute stores, especially my favorite is Cherry Tree Lane in the Co-op because it has all those beautiful like 50s style Dapper Day Disney dresses, and they're super cute. There's also like the home section in the Co-op as well, which is really nice. And then there's Sugar Boo and Co. I don't even know what it's called. You guys know that like it looks like a train station kind of thingy, like the brick breezeway thing.
Kind of know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know what it's called.
But yeah, there's a store called Sugar Boo and Co. And it's like it's kind of expensive So I don't really shop there, but I definitely like to go and look around because it has a bunch of different things like decorative items for your house and different types of like cosmetic products and stuff. And there's also a Lily Pulitzer store. Just it's like right across from it as well. Um,
You could
so yeah,
also, not to jump on your thing, but if you're in the co-op, there's that like candle and essential oils thing where you can make your own candle too.
yes, that's true. That's a good one. I didn't even think about that. Also at Disney Springs, brunch, because that's a thing that us girls like as well. I've heard that the brunch at Wine Bar George is really good and that they have Dole Whip mimosas. So
Ooh.
I want to
Wait,
check
what?
that out. Yes. Essentially, I'm assuming it's just a mimosa with pineapple juice instead of orange juice. But
Oh,
Makes a lot
calling
of sense.
calling it a Dole Whip mimosa sounds a lot cooler, in my opinion.
yeah.
But yeah, I've heard that brunch is really good, and I'm sure there are other brunches in Disney Springs, but that's the one that I've heard the most about. And then my other thing, I didn't know a whole lot about this as well, but now I'm like super intrigued by it. At the Tri-Circle D Ranch at Fort Wilderness, you can take a little tour through the stables and see the different horses that you see at like the one that carries the headless horseman at Not So Scary, and the ones that like pull the carriages and stuff like that. And you can actually see the blacksmith making horseshoes. And this was the thing that kind of intrigued me the most. On the official site, it says, discover the Dragon Calliope, the horse-drawn musical instrument that Walt Disney purchased for the Mickey Mouse Club Circus Parade at Disneyland Park in the 1950s. And I don't think that's really a girl thing specifically, but horseback riding was the reason that I thought of this whole Tri-Circle D Ranch thing. Which, side note, is $55 for a 45-minute ride. But after I was looking into it, I became immediately more interested in that other part. So I think that would be cool for any Disney fan, not just a girl.
Yeah, I mean, obviously going to Fort Wilderness for so long and so many times, like I'm familiar with it. It is very cool. Like the blacksmith is out there a lot, and a lot of times, like they'll talk to you and like explain what they're doing and why they do it, and like the whole process and everything. So it's very, very cool. It's interactive and it really is a lot of fun.
Did you see the instrument?
I did not see the instrument. That is actually the first I've heard of this.
Huh. Yeah, I'm like really intrigued by that now. And I don't know if you want to cut this out or if we want to include the link in the show notes, but
Oh, I looked at the link. It is quite cute.
oh my god, it's so cute. And this is like super recent. Apparently, there was a pony that was born at the ranch, and they on the Disney Parks blog posted about it a couple weeks ago. And it is super cute. This little tiny white pony.
You know what was like really funny about this? So I keep up with Disney news like we all do because we do this show. And like usually I'm the first person out of like anyone I know to be like, "Oh, did you hear about that cool thing that Disney's doing?" I didn't hear about this till Andy sent me this.
I didn't hear about this until I saw this link today.
She sent me this like 2 days ago. I was like, "Why are you sending me this?"
Oh my gosh. Baby animals. That is
It is
something I
really
can
cute,
always
though.
get behind.
There's been a lot of baby animals at Disney World lately.
I know, it's so exciting. There was a baby gorilla recently too, right?
Yep.
I think so.
Oh, babies. Oh. But I thought I saved this one for last because this is very much a thing you could do with any type of group of people over the age of 21, and that is drinking. So, my suggestion, if you're having a girls' trip, is do a little bar crawl with different cocktails, wines, or beers if that's your thing. I know there are girls that like beer. It's not my thing, but good for you. The ones that I thought of was like there's a monorail resort crawl where you just go to the different monorail resort bars, and then of course there's drinking around the world. However you want to do that, whether you want to go hard and do all 11 countries or you just want to sample here and there. But yeah.
Or
Nice.
kind of to bounce off of that, I know like the wine tasting is like a quote unquote girl thing. You can do wine tastings in France and Italy, and that might work too with your drinking around the world stuff. Because I know I put this under the guys trip, but I don't know what girly drinks would be.
Just a little side tangent. What do you guys consider, like, if you're doing the real drinking around the world, right? And you're having a drink, quote unquote, in every country?
Mhm.
I would say, like, a cocktail, a beer, or a shot all count as a drink.
I'd
Yeah.
agree with that.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, just as a curiosity.
Why? What would you not consider a drink?
A wine tasting, unless you're
Oh.
tasting a bunch of wines, like,
Well,
at the same time.
so the way that they do their like wine tastings, you can order a flight of them too, and it's 3 like actual not actual glasses, but 3 like sample glasses of wine, which would equal like a regular glass of wine. So I can
Okay.
kind of see that, but no, I do kind of agree that it feels a little weird to throw that in with drinking around the world.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that if anybody out there is thinking about drinking around the world and thinks that they're going to get off that easy with a sample of wine, think again.
Yeah. Also,
no.
I would say like any of the food booths at the festivals, those drinks don't count.
Oh yeah, because they have like no alcohol in them.
Well, yeah, and they're like a third the
Tiny.
size of a normal drink on top of that.
Yeah,
You order a cocktail and it comes out in like a thimble.
yeah, right. Oh my gosh, the ice wine, you guys. Brian, I was with you when
Yep.
I got that. It's literally a shot glass of wine, and it was like $12 or something.
Oh my gosh.
It's apparently this like really expensive special Canadian wine thing, but I was just like, dang, I got it a few years before and I remembered it being small, but not this small. I kid you not. I'm not
Yeah.
exaggerating. It was like a big shot glass.
That's why, like, I don't drink a whole lot when I go to Epcot, but like I've been burned enough times at the food booth that I always wait. If I haven't seen somebody else order it, I'm not getting it yet because I need to see how big the glass is.
Right.
Quick Google search it on your phone to see how big it is. Now, I have a question for you because I may be remembering this wrong, but didn't your wife say that she had her bachelorette party in Disney, or she went to
didn't
one there?
have her bachelorette party, but she did go to a close friend's bachelorette party at Disney.
Did they do anything that we didn't mention? Or
The one thing that I guess I was going to mention that would probably be a good segue because it would probably be good for a bachelor or a bachelorette trip is I know they did like the dance hall at the boardwalk.
Ah.
So there's another one.
So what is it called again? Do you
Atlantic
remember?
Dance Hall?
Yes.
Or Jelly Rolls?
Well, Jelly Rolls is the piano bar, but yeah. I've never been to either, but they're both on my to-do list.
Yeah, I wanted to go to Jelly Rolls the last time, but we just never made time for it.
I'm gonna try to make time on my trip coming up. It's just hard if you're not staying there, you know, because you have to find a way back, and it's usually going to be too late to use Disney transportation. So you'd have to like call it a Lyft or an Uber or something.
Yeah.
But hey.
Well, I mean, you can always do what we used to do when we would go like to the park super late or not the park, but like go to another resort super late, hop a bus to Disney Springs and run another bus or different transportation from there. That's like super, super out of the way, but
yeah,
possible.
I mean, yeah, no, I didn't. That's a good point. You could just, do it and then like have a drink at Disney Springs, so it's not like a total waste of time.
Yeah.
It is kind of dumb because now it is actually cheaper for you to book a reservation at a restaurant at the boardwalk with no intentions of going and just eat that $20 charge instead of having to pay for parking to go there. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
I remember that you like I've been to the boardwalk before and not had to pay for parking. Is that unusual?
It is a recent thing that they changed. Yep, me and my wife went. I mean, it was probably 6 months ago or so, but yeah, we showed up and they said it was. I mean, it was ridiculous. I thought it was $30 to park there if you didn't have a reservation to a restaurant, which is just insane.
Wow, that is insane.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, you could get even cheaper. You could make a reservation for one person that you have no intention of going to. Then you only have to pay $10.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's per person.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I guess I've always made a reservation for me and my wife, so I didn't realize it was per person.
The reason I know this, and you can actually like change the number of people. You can't cancel your reservation unless it's the day before.
Hmm.
But the day of, you can change the number of people in your reservation, because one time I had a reservation that I knew we weren't going to make, and I had reserved it for like 5 people, and I was like, I do not want to throw $50 away. So I just went and changed it to one person and only had to eat $10.
Sneaky.
So, yeah.
I have to back that too, because we did that on this last trip. We were trying to go to dinner with a friend very last minute. They were like, "Oh yeah, let's do dinner one night." And we're like, "Okay, well we're going here, jump on." And then they had an emergency and had to back out last minute. So we didn't even cancel those 2 people. We just walked up and said, by the way, we went from 4 to 2, and they're like, "Okay, that's fine." So
Yeah, as long as you either show up or like change your reservation to one person, then you're usually going to be fine.
right. They also said, I'm going to cut this part out, but they were like, yeah, if you were like only just going to double your reservation, you wouldn't have had to add 2 extra people, and you could have just walked up and said, yeah, here you go. We've got an extra 2 people. We're 4 instead of 2 now. So I think
wow.
Disney's super lenient with reservations.
Yeah.
Uh,
Although I think what we just described could be called working the system, so the Reddit moderators would not be happy with us right now.
yeah, whatever.
Are they ever happy though?
No.
No.
If you're out there listening, that was for you. You know who you are.
Oh boy. Remind me to tell you I have some hot
Some
gossip
tea.
about that.
Oh, I'm already mad about them locking down the smoking thread. I was like,
Did
I
they?
was not done talking.
Oh my. You were on a roll too.
Woo! I was hot.
They locked the subreddit for like 12 hours, and I have to tell you about that because I witnessed the whole thing go down.
What?
Yeah,
Oh my
this
God.
is all off-air discussion though. So let's move on to Guy's trip.
So this is weird because this is the first thing that popped into my head, and I don't golf, but Disney has 3 18-hole golf courses and another 9-hole golf course on Disney property, and these are the Disney's Palm Golf Course, Magnolia Golf Course, Lake Buena Vista Golf Course, and then the smaller 9-hole course is called Disney's Oak Trail Golf Course. And one thing, as I was reading into this, I kind of learned a lot. Obviously, I haven't looked into this too much because I don't golf, but all the courses are designed and they're operated by the Arnold Palmer Golf Management Company. So apparently pretty well-renowned golf courses. And, they're right there on Disney property, really short drive. I don't even know which one it is, but I always see the one that's right across from like the Polynesian if I leave from there. But the 18-hole courses you can go to, and they are between $59 and $129 per day per guest. And that's if you're a day guest. You can get discounts for different Disney memberships, like pass holders. Disney Vacation Club obviously get a pretty good discount and everything too.
I have a question. I don't know if you'll know because, like you said, you don't golf, but is that price normal-ish, or is it like crazy? Is it Disney prices, or is it like regular golf prices?
I couldn't even begin to tell you.
That's not a bad price.
Do you golf, Mario?
I don't, but my dad does.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Does that? I just want to know, anyone out there have a dad that doesn't golf? No? Yeah, I was not, like, if you're out there listening, I want to know if your dad does not golf. That's a dad thing.
Both of my parents work at a very big golf course, so I'm
Oh,
like tied in.
Oh my god, are they like so disappointed that you don't golf?
My dad didn't golf until he started working there.
Oh, okay.
oh, really? Okay. Oh. But the smaller course, the 9-hole golf course, is open to youth golfers too, which is pretty cool. So if you got a kid and you want to go out and show them the ropes, then you can take them there. And obviously, it's a little bit shorter and a little bit easier course. The other cool thing that they do at the Oak Trail Golf Course, which I didn't even know was a thing, is called foot golf. And it's basically golf with a soccer ball, which sounds way more fun to me than regular golf because I've tried to swing a golf club before and know how bad I am at it, but I know I can at least kick a soccer ball. So maybe next time I'll actually look into doing this.
Side note, Top Golf, not on Disney property.
Oh, Top Golf is so fun.
Top Golf is the golf for people who don't golf.
I'm going there tomorrow.
Really? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they just opened one in Myrtle Beach recently, and I'm so excited. Anyway.
Sweet. But
there is one in Orlando to bring that back to relevancy.
But the other fun fact that I came across while doing this research is that the Lake Buena Vista Golf Course is actually a certified cooperative wildlife sanctuary.
Huh.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. I thought you might like that one.
Yeah. Do you know what lives there?
What? No, I do not.
Oh, we need to find out.
I don't know what
lives
it's
there.
actually certified for, but it's I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that is really
Brain-eating
cool.
amoeba.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yes, that precious species we must preserve.
Oh.
Oh man. So my next one is another pretty obvious one, but the ESPN Club at the Boardwalk is a good place to go if you and some friends want to go watch a game, eat some food. I haven't been here in a while, but last time I went, I remember like the food is actually pretty decent, and obviously you've got the whole sports bar atmosphere, and sometimes just watching a big game is a lot more fun when you're doing it with a lot of other people that are really into it. So this is another cool one to do with guys.
Yeah.
Also, ESPN Club has TVs in the bathroom. I literally went there to use a bathroom once and was really stoked on that. I think all restaurants should have TVs in the bathroom.
I like that. Even ones that don't have TVs in the restaurant.
Yeah.
The next one that I have is the fishing excursions that are available around Disney. Disney has a number of different fishing excursions that you can go, and there's a ton of different marinas around Disney that you can actually take these out of. So chances are you're staying either at a resort that has one or you're really close to one. But you can rent pontoon boats, or they also have like the tournament style bass boats if you want to get a little more extreme into it. And you can do these with, I think it was up to 8 people, I think, if you rent a pontoon boat to go out. So that's cool. They include everything if you get these packages, give you rod, reel, bait, tackle, and they even include drinks on them. So that's pretty neat. And the places you can go out of are Fort Wilderness, Caribbean Beach, the Contemporary, the Grand Floridian, Old Key West, Polynesian, Port Orleans Riverside, the Wilderness Lodge, and the Yacht Club. And these excursions range in price from $170, which I believe was like for one person on a pontoon boat for 2 hours, and they'll go all the way up to $455 if you have a larger group and everything. So they really aren't that bad if you do this with a group of people and you're into fishing and stuff. Because I think the $455 one was for it was either 4 or 6 hours. So it's a pretty decent amount of time to be out there. But
Now, I would assume it's catch and release, right?
I am almost positive that it is. I don't think they do any like obviously like taxidermy stuff, and I don't think you would want to like take one of these fish home that you caught on a vacation. So I think it's only catch and release.
That makes sense.
I know that dock fishing is all catch and release, so I would assume this is too.
Yeah.
But kind of on that same note, if you're not into fishing, you can also just do boat rentals around property and take those out. They have everything from like the little 2-seater they call it the Sea Racers, which it's basically like a little 2-person mini jet boat. I have done those before. You can rent a pontoon boat, or you can rent like a inshore offshore type boat, and the prices are kind of steep. I will say it's $32 to $45 per half hour. So I would say if you're gonna take like a pontoon boat out or something, you'd probably want to do it for like a longer amount of time to kind of get your money's worth and stuff for it to go explore. But I remember as a kid we did the Sea Racers, and that was fun because you can have a lot of fun with those just for like the half hour, and it's only $32. And you fit 2 people in them, so if you split that, that's really not bad. Fun little way to spend $15 a person. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That's not bad at all. My only suggestions were drinking, like Beth said. I feel like there's a lot of like good places, and trying to decide like what is girls and guys was a little weird too. But some of the places I could think of were like Beer Garden or Raglan Road might be a good place to grab a drink and enjoy the atmosphere, hang out with some friends. And surprised we haven't mentioned Trader Sam's because I feel like that should have been the obvious. But
what about that? Excuse me. What about that tap house in Hollywood Studios?
Oh yeah, I haven't been there yet. Baseline Tap House.
Yeah.
I
don't know what the beers. I've been there, but I don't know what the beer selection's like because I didn't look.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that would probably be a good place to go.
Because it's a tap house, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like this kind of ties back to our earlier point: is know your audience and know who's going with you, because, like, really, I guess a guy's trip to, Walt Disney World probably isn't going to include a lot of time in Magic Kingdom. You're probably going to spend a lot of time in Epcot or Hollywood Studios or maybe even Animal Kingdom, just depending on what your party is looking for. But I also suggested, and this is probably a little sacrilege, if your party is looking for thrill rides, maybe consider a day at Universal.
Wow, Mario.
Yep.
No, I don't disagree with that.
Nah, that's a good tip.
I think that's probably like, I don't know. That's like if you know what you're looking for and it's not Disney, that's the next best thing.
Mm-hmm. And also, like y'all mentioned, Topgolf. Like, there's a ton of stuff around the area too. If you want to go have fun at Disney during the day and you're more into like the nightlife kind of stuff, there's tons of stuff you can do in Orlando.
And I think Beth mentioned like shopping at Disney Springs. Don't underestimate the nightlife at Disney Springs too. Like when we went for my 21st birthday, our whole intention was to go to Epcot and drink around the world. But our first night there, we spent the night at Disney Springs and we hung out at Paradiso 37 for like a really long time, and it was lots of fun because they had a DJ outside that was playing music. There were people dancing. We got some really good drinks. Like, it's a really cool place to hang out. And Raglan Road has the nightlife too. There's a lot of places down that way that you can stop and hang out for a while.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So, are there any closing remarks that you guys have about maybe planning a guy's day or a girl's day at Walt Disney World? I'm going to take that as a no.
I have never been on a guy's trip to Disney, so all of this is like theoretical on my end.
To be completely honest, I don't know if I've ever been on a girls' trip, period. Like I said, I've kind of always been more so friends with guys, not to be that girl because they're gay guys, but yeah. So I've never really, not that I can think of, but it sounds like it'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing I've ever gotten was my 21st birthday. We planned it it was me and my two best friends. We went down to Disney and we spent 4 days down there. We did one day at every park with, like I said, the intention of drinking around the world. And it was fun, but I feel like now, like, I don't know, then I knew very little about like the specifics of what I can do outside of a family trip. I feel like now it would be a totally different trip.
Yeah, I could see that. Also, I just want to state, I know we kind of did a little disclaimer at the beginning, but if you want to mix and match these items to your heart's content, then you do you. If you want to have a guy's trip and go to the spa, you do it. If you want to have a girl's trip and go play golf, do it. These are just the stereotypical things, but
Yeah.
The funny thing about that is like looking back at the suggestions, how many times has Brian suggested going to the spa?
Yeah. And I can guarantee you just about any woman, I don't care if you play golf or not, that went and played a game of golf against me, I would almost guarantee you would beat me. I've played twice in my life, and it just ain't for me. So
So I guess that's gonna do it for this week, and I'll record the outro later.
sweet.